Hey everybody, welcome back to Whiteboard Finance. My name is Marco and I'm here to help you master your money and build your wealth. In today's video, we're gonna talk about how to save money without budgeting. So learning how to save money is a sign or a trait of a disciplined and responsible person. But when people think of saving money, they immediately think of budgeting. Newsflash, budgeting sucks, okay? No one likes to budget. So in this video, I'm gonna show you 4 ways on how to save money without budgeting. I'm gonna show you how to automate this process so it does it without you even thinking about it. And then as always, I'm gonna give you my thoughts at the end. Stay tuned. Okay, so the first way to save money without a budget is to pay yourself first. So paying yourself first is the easiest way to quote unquote hide your money from yourself. This way you save it without even knowing it's there. That way you can't spend it and it automatically goes into a savings account. So you simply automate the savings portion based on a percentage of your income that you're comfortable with. Traditional financial advice has been anywhere from 10 to 20 to maybe 30% if you can afford it. But for this example, we're gonna use 20%. So let's take an example of you getting paid $1,000 a week net, okay? So this right here is your paycheck and you have all these different buckets that you wanna save for. This is just arbitrary. This is personally what my wife and I do, but you can have savings goals for whatever you wanna save for. So what I would recommend is an emergency fund, an investment fund, a car fund, a travel fund, and a house fund. This will cover most people's needs when it comes to getting the maximum joy out of life without breaking the bank for either one of these things. So the idea here is if you get paid $1,000 a week, you take 20% of that paycheck, which would be $200 in this case, and you can divide it equally amongst these different quote unquote buckets, okay? The reason for this is because this creates discipline of knowing how much you can spend within each bucket and avoiding lifestyle inflation. So if you start making way more money, you're not gonna start taking crazy vacations because you know X amount of dollars is in your travel fund. So if your pay goes up, your contribution goes up, and that way you can smooth out your lifestyle inflation and you're saving money automatically. Okay, so step number 2 is contributing to either an employer-sponsored retirement plan or savings plan or investment plan, or taking advantage of those tax-advantaged accounts in general. So examples of this would be a 401k or a 403b, for example. So if your employer matches any contributions, I highly recommend that you take advantage of that, even though this is not financial advice and I'm wrong 110% of the time. However, when you contribute up to the match, you're basically getting quote-unquote free money, for lack of a better term. So this comes out of your paycheck automatically, thus you're paying yourself first and you're saving money without budgeting. Not only does it come out of your paycheck, but it lowers your taxable income, thus lowering your taxes. If it's a 401k, a traditional one, you will have to pay taxes when you take that out upon retirement. The second step is to max out your Roth IRA. So the Roth IRA is after-tax dollars, and these are contributions that grow tax-free up until you want to take them out. The nice thing is you can take out your principal at any time under certain qualifications, but you can't take out the money that you actually gain on your investments until 59.5 at the time of this recording. So the worst case scenario is you can end up taking out that principal and this basically turns into a glorified savings account. So you're getting basically the tax advantages of the 401k and then also the Roth. And then the third thing I have here is called the future with question marks. The reason I put that is because the state of the United States, at least, we don't know what our taxable incomes or tax brackets are gonna be in the future. So if the Roth IRA does indeed stay tax-free upon retirement, that money is yours at the end of the day and you don't have to pay further taxes on it. Step number 3 is to automate your investing. So similar to step number 1 where we automated our savings, step number 3 is the same principle except we're hoping to gain a greater yield than a very low interest-bearing savings account. Even though they do call them high yield savings account, which is basically laughable given this interest rate environment. That's outside the scope of this point. However, I'm a huge fan of automating my investing and dollar cost averaging. If you're not familiar with what dollar cost averaging is, it's simply investing the same amount of money at the same interval over a long period of time, okay? So this is for long-term investors. So let's take a look at an example of how dollar cost averaging works. Say Bob wants to invest $100 every week. So at week 0, he invests $100 to fund his account. The next week, $100. Week 2, $100. Week 3, $100. And he's investing no matter the price of the investments that he's investing in. So let's take VTI, right? That's a Vanguard index fund, total stock market. Let's say he's buying one week at the high, next week at the low, next week at the middle. The idea is that you end up somewhere in the middle over a long period of time. As long as that equity or that investment goes up and to the right, gaining ROI every year, you're gonna be well off. So that's why I love dollar cost averaging. This is also why I love M1 Finance, and I personally use it in my SEP IRA, and I personally use it in one of my taxable accounts, because you basically create a pie, give it weights, and you just let it ride if it's in long-term investments that you wanna own for a long time. If you wanna learn more about M1 Finance, check out my free training down below. This is not a sponsored video, it's just something that I use personally. And then finally, there's a lot of benefits to dollar cost averaging and automating your investing, especially in a taxable account. For example, you can borrow against that money at low interest. You can do a lot of different things with that and get creative, but that's not the scope of this section. Okay, so number 4 is considering to take out a 15-year mortgage. So this may or may not resonate with a lot of my viewers, which I'll get into in the cons of this section, but let me explain this math first. A 15-year mortgage can actually be almost like a forced savings plan. However, the math in this interest rate environment does not make sense to do this. It makes sense to spread out your mortgage at low rates for as long as possible, but let's not get into that discussion just yet. Let's talk about the benefits. So if we take a $350,000 mortgage and we compare that to a 30-year versus a 15-year, the principal, meaning the amount of money shaving off going towards your equity, shaving off the mortgage, is $654 a month. However, the interest is $726. So that's a big difference. You actually have more money going towards borrowing the money than you do towards principal. Obviously, that gradually declines over time if you look at an amortization schedule, but for the sake of this example, I'll just show you this real quick. So the 15-year mortgage, the principal is $1,605 and the interest is $726. However, when you look at the total interest paid over that time period, if I were to keep paying this at the very minimum for 30 years, I would have paid a total of $147,197 in interest. The 15-year, I would have paid $69,780,000 in interest. That's a significant savings. So the reason I say that is because, the reason I say it may not make sense to do this, it's almost like a forced savings plan, is because mortgage rates are so low. So when you think of all the macroeconomic stuff going on with modern monetary theory, quantitative easing, time value of money, meaning $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow, and low rates, it doesn't make sense to pay off your mortgage early in 2021, at least at the time of this recording. However, if you are someone who's completely averse to debt and you do want to pay yourself first, AKA saving money on interest over the long term, you can see the savings right here. However, the math always favors investing the money rather than paying down the mortgage. Peace of mind, obviously you want to pay down the mortgage. Okay, so as always, here are my thoughts. Here are 3 quick points about this subject. So number 1, people are not naturally budgeters. People hate budgeting. That's why people fail with diets. That's why they fail with workout plans. It basically boils down to being able to be disciplined and responsible enough to stick with it. Why not make it easy on yourself? That leads me to point number 2. When you pay yourself first or automate your investings or automatically contribute to your 401k or tax advantage accounts or take out the 15-year mortgage instead of the 30, for example, just for the sake of this video, you're paying yourself first, and that makes it painless. You don't even know you're doing it. It's kind of like ripping the Band-Aid off instead of slowly trying to peel it off, right? Number 3, this also prevents lifestyle inflation. So as your income comes up and you start doing better at work or better at your job and you start getting compensated more or bringing more value to the marketplace and your income goes up, you naturally want to buy the new car, the new truck, the new house, the new toy, the new gadget. However, if you don't have it in those buckets that we talked about, and if you just raise your contributions to match your new income, you're not going to suffer from lifestyle inflation. So I hope this video was valuable. Please share it with one friend. As always, join the waiting list for Whiteboard Finance University. My wife and I are going on vacation in the middle of March. We're going to South Beach, and that should be launched by April, okay? I have a couple modules, or excuse me, a couple courses already recorded, but that's gonna be multiple courses. It's gonna be a community. It's gonna be a chat. It's gonna be live streams, Q&A with me, access to me directly. It's gonna be an unbelievable value for the money. And I don't typically sell things on this channel. I just very strongly believe in it. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a prosperous day. Yeah, I'm going to South Beach with that travel bucket, son. Woo! all night on the beach till the break of dawn. Welcome to Miami. That's getting edited out. That was terrible. I'm never doing that again.